So I've had this helmet, this Daytona C6 Pro, for almost 10 months now, I believe. Bought this with my own money. This was before Daytona started reaching out to me and I kind of started working with them. And when I say working with them, basically they gave me a discount code and I have free will to talk about the helmet however I feel. So I've had this thing for 10 months, around 15,000 miles on this helmet. And we're gonna kind of talk about some of the pros and cons with this bad boy. Now granted, this is the first generation C6, I believe. They've got a new model out now that has a lot of the improvements and stuff that I'm gonna talk about throughout this video. And things that they've implemented in this the newer generation that's not on this current helmet that I have on right this second. But I've taken this thing on 4 cross-country trips so far. Like I said, 15,000 miles, give or take a little bit. And I'm about to take it on this next little trip to Florida, where I'm heading from Texas all the way to Destin, Florida, and then on to Daytona Beach, where I'm actually going to meet up with the guys from Daytona Helmets and redo the facilities tour that I did with them back during Daytona Bike Week, because go figure again, my audio was shit on that video, which is why I never did post it. Without good audio, the video honestly doesn't really make a difference. Nobody's gonna watch it. So good audio is almost better than good video. So some of the gripes that I have with this Daytona C6 Pro. Now, first of all, you can tell a Pro version from a standard version simply because the Pro version has the carbon fiber chin, and it comes with a photochromatic, they call it something else, but it's a photochromatic visor that comes with the C6 Pro. The standard will have a black chin and just a standard non-changing visor. If you upgrade to the C6 Pro, the visor is pretty much built into that price. So honestly, it's a little bit better of a deal. You get a lighter weight helmet, you get a better visor. It works out for the best. So some of the cons that I'm gonna talk about, honestly, I really only have one con with this generation helmet, and that's these vents on the top. I don't know if you can see them or not, but this vent is very flush. It has no means of pulling the air into the helmet. So when you're going down the road, unless you physically turn your head sideways, perpendicular to the wind, there's almost no air that gets pulled into the helmet and then exflows hot air out the back. With the new generations, like my wife has, it's got more of like a scoop above the vent, so it actually pulls in that air and gives you that positive airflow over your head. So like I said, the air vents are kind of my biggest gripe with this generation helmet. It just doesn't have great airflow over the top of the head until you do this number, then you can feel airflow. They've corrected that modification, they've corrected that change, so not really gonna harp on that too much. The second gripe that I had that they have also implemented because of yours truly was wind leak. Now, this being a modular helmet, that's something to be expected, is wind leak, particularly in the chin area where the face meets the shell of the helmet. You're gonna have a gap right here, and go figure, air might leak into there. You might get a little bit of a whistling sound and all that. I made an entire video where I modified my helmet and added a gasket, or like a seal between the body and the chin, and it sealed up that wind leak to solve the problem. Luckily, Daytona saw it. They implemented that change. They sent their R&D team, you know, the request, and they made an entirely new seal for the inside of their newer model C6 Pros, and I think C6s. Supposedly, it's almost a 30% noise reduction with that new gasket, that new seal that they have in their newer models. So that is a game changer. So those are my two things that I really griped about, and those are two things that they have since completely rectified, from my understanding. Let's talk about the good things, and there's a lot of them from my point of view. First of all, this visor might be one of the best on any helmet that I've ever had. A, it's photochromatic. B, it is huge depth of field down laterally, and for someone like me who runs their mirrors on the underside like this, it gives me a direct line of sight to my mirrors, so freaking awesome there. Last but not least, the visor has insane detents, and you can leave this visor wherever you want, going however fast you want, and you're not going to run into issues with it coming down on you. I've had this visor up doing well over 90-95 miles an hour, and it does not want to come down. I don't care what position you put it in, it will stay there until you decide to change it. I think they're actually rated for up to 120 or 130 miles an hour in the full open position. So take that for what it is. This visor is not the visor, it's the interior visor. A lot of companies kind of cheap out when it comes to their interior visor. This particular one, and I'm gonna put my face shield back down just so you can hear me a little bit better. But this particular interior visor is awesome. It is massive. Some of the other helmets that I have, the visor seems to stop much higher on your field of vision, and so you're almost looking through the bottom seam of the visor, if that makes sense. This one goes way down on your face, and from my point of view looking down, I can't hardly see any daylight coming in from the outside. That's how much coverage it gives between my eyes and the bottom chin guard. Unreal. You can also open your entire face, and let's say you're going on a long cross-country trip. That kind of shit right there is very handy on long cross-country trips, to be able to open the face, get access to water, drinking, anything like that. Awesome. And still keeping that interior visor down. Now I know most every other helmet company out there that has an interior visor and a modular face does the same thing. I'm just saying it's a convenient thing. As far as comfort goes, it's up there with a top tier helmet like a Shoei, a Arai, any of those helmets that are well known for their comfort and their protection. I personally value this helmet right up there with them. It's extremely comfortable. I haven't had any kind of issues with the chin pads or the padding on the interior compressing and getting sloppy on my head. It still has great retention and great sturdiness on the pads. Now, at this point, should I take these pads out and maybe wash them, or potentially just buy new pads and get that nice crisp, clean feeling again? Yeah, maybe. But there's nothing wrong with these pads. They're compact, they're broken in, and they're still holding my face just fine. Like I said, I've done numerous cross-country trips with this helmet, and I've never found a hot spot in this helmet. With the exception of like the tips of my ears, I can actually feel the speakers on the tips of my ears. So that's kind of the only place that I get a little bit of a hot spot, but honestly, that's not the helmet's fault. That's just the shape of my head and the shape of my ears. No helmet's gonna be perfect, and no helmet's gonna avoid that kind of issue. To each their own. I guess I could tape my ears back and look like a weirdo, but going along with the cross-country thing, what almost makes this helmet worth it 100% is this photochromatic visor. The fact that I can go from start riding in the mornings all the way through the day and into the nighttime and not have to change out my lens or my visor because I have the photochromatic system is unreal. Riding during the day, bright sunlight, it gets darker in UV light. Obviously, that's the nature of photochromatic system. If it's super bright, you can always put the interior visor down and gives you that extra bit of sun protection. And then obviously as night comes around, sun goes down, it starts transitioning back to a more clear lens. It's not 100% clear, but it is substantially lighter than anything else, and it's obviously going to be better than riding with a full tinted visor at nighttime. I know it looks cool. We all say no face, no case, but at the end of the day, when you hit that pothole because you can't see it, that's going to suck. So keep that in mind. Now I know Daytona has a ton of helmets coming out in the near future and modifications to their current line. If you go to their website, you're going to see some awesome colorways that they have coming out, in particular their Viper line right now, where they're implementing color into their carbon fiber. That is insane, and they've actually revolutionized and patented a certain way that they're implementing color woven into the carbon fiber itself and not just dyeing the entire shell of the helmet over carbon fiber. So they've got a very unique system that they're using, and it looks like nothing else on the market. The actual way that the color is woven into the fibers makes it pop and shine like crazy, and it is unbelievably beautiful. Now they're introducing these new colorways on just their visor or just their Vipers right now, and depending on which ones take off and which ones have the best impact, they're going to implement those colorways into the C6 and C6 Pro lines as well. That'll be coming down the line. They also have, and the one I'm particularly looking forward to, is a forged carbon fiber C6 Pro, and I will have my hands on that at the end of this year, one way or the other. I can't wait for that helmet. I think it looks awesome. From what they've told me, it should be getting released, I think by Oktoberfest I think by Biketoberfest at the end of this year. They should have it for ready for purchase. But at the end of this month when I go down there, they have said that they should have some prototypes and some samples ready that I can check out. So we might get to see some first-hand knowledge of some of these new systems that they have coming along the way. Pretty excited about that.